Heidi, how do you engage with these data points?
I feel like we've forgotten about the consumer. We're talking about all this stuff and forget that actually the world should revolve around our consumers, really.
Oh, right, them. Yeah.
Remember those guys?
Who are they?
So, the conversation, quite simplistically, it should be what are we selling to whom and where will we find them? If I just think about every time I go to Woolies and I swipe my card, maybe I've bought 2 nachos and I'll get the lemons for less. But Woolies knows so much about me. So much. Has it benefited me as a consumer? One little teeny tiny bit? Zero. And I think that's where we're getting lost. I think you have to start at the end. You have to say, what do I want to achieve for my consumers? And then work backwards with how can I get that done? What permissions does my brand have to do that? What gifts does my brand have to bring? And then how can technology help me to do that? If we're starting with a technology question, we're starting in the wrong place. I think the first time I ever gave a talk on CRM was in 1914, feels like. And I remember saying, technology is an enabler. Well, it still is. The thing we need more than anything is multidisciplinary teams, holistically standing around the consumer and the brand, because those are who we serve, and thinking, how do we together bring the best for them? And I think that's the way we have to look at things.
And it's a brilliant analogy to use that. I mean, Woolies is a great example. It's one of our clients we're working on at the moment. And the retail data, point of sale data, that nachos that you bought, has no link to the marketing department. They're getting post-analytics reports from their agency.
And probably patting themselves on the back for collecting so much data.
And exactly, and they're sitting there and they're both patting themselves on the back, but none of the stuff is connecting. Yeah. And the other part is adding that qualitative data into it. I think data, there's a misnomer that it's cold and hard. Data can be soft. Data can be insight-led and insight-driven. So it's about finding that full mix and connecting all of those dots. But the organizations are just not built like that. No. Yeah. It's so territorial and almost...
You've all identified the problem, but no one's telling us how to bring it closer.
Honestly, we're lacking maturity in marketing leadership to be able to bring people together and to say, I really don't understand your world and your world and your world, but I know we have to serve the customer and the brand. Now, how can we do that together? And there's not enough maturity. It's everybody's elbowing everybody out the way to stake their claim.
Don't people like Musa and Hayden just have to make it more simpler for marketers to understand?
We're not stupid, Jeremy.
Do they not overcomplicate the formula?
You know what they have to do? And
I'm asking them to dumb it down.
I'll tell you what they have to do. They have to stop, and this is not you're just the proxies for
the system.
The system. Stop selling us stuff. Come and understand the business of our business so that we can together decide what's in the best interest of our consumer and our brand.
Yeah. Look, I agree with that. You see, this is why we stand around here. So the role of agencies, especially when we think about kind of the front-facing, which is typically client service, has to evolve to this role of orchestration and design thinking, in my opinion, right? So when you talk about orchestration, you're moving them from order taking to being able to delve deeper into places where potentially you won't get an immediate brief, but you might get really insightful knowledge around the client problem. And being able to take that back into a space where you then retrofit a solution as opposed to going to hunt for something that you've seen before, I think will be the difference. Yep. To be honest, there are also clients who are much more evolved in their thinking and their appreciation orientation who want that. And I think back to the dynamics of buyers is that there are some who just don't understand that. They're going, I want to send you a brief and you execute on that brief, and you go, but I want to come and understand your business. Go,
isn't that the prevailing sentiment? Yeah. That's how it still works. Well, I think that's the majority of people in the marketing space.
That's what we have to shift.
It's not only to do with technology and marketing, it's to do with traditional advertising, same problem, yes. Right?
So we have to be a bit more pushy. But once again, I think it's not going to be every single client. I think there's going to be on the agency side, we have to be more specific around the clients we do identify, and I think we have to push deep and push hard with those clients, and just make peace with the 80-20 rule. that at some stage, I think the market will mature as a whole. And by that point, at least you've got the ability to go that journey with the clients that come
But
on.
while this maturation process is happening, you're losing a lot of opportunity, both sides of the equation.
Marketing in particular has been pushed down the value chain, right? And again, not you, Heidi.
The others.
But marketing as a practice, right? Because we, and I say we, have been
But
so
Hayden, that's
close,
been happening for 20 years.
because we're too closely linked to advertising. But when you look at the evolution, so when we look at, say, product before we were adding lemon to the beer and out came flying fish, or we put blue beads into the Omo, and we were working with R&D and doing product. Today, it's digital product. So the whole Spotify considers, it's called the digital product model, right? The whole thing, guilds, squads, chapters, and we have nothing to do with that. That sits somewhere else in the organization. And where technology comes in are all of those areas. Digital service, right? That sits in the customer experience department. The call center sitting somewhere else. These are all components that build brands that we have less and less control of. So what is the solution? Organizations are creating chief customer officers. Or now Ernst has just been appointed at MTN as what? The chief consumer officer. Marketing and digital product reporting into him. They're starting to solve it at an organizational level. So we're seeing more chief marketing technology officers emerging, people trying to bridge that gap. But you've got to be thinking about it much more holistically than just communication. When we default, we go digital marketing, but you've got to be thinking about commerce. We've got to be thinking about digital service. We've got to be thinking about digital product. And then there's digital promotions. It's one small part of the bigger pie. But to get into that conversation, I think marketers can become more and more relevant, but unfortunately we're going to have to call ourselves chief consumer officers. And what is that? It's about the consumer. It's everything that Woolies doing the same. The CMO reports to a chief consumer officer. So organizations are trying to fix the myopia of marketing by creating the separate role. And that's how we need to elevate it, to have a broader conversation and see brand being impacted by many other levers than just communication.
I think we've got a leadership issue. It's not solved by an organogram. It's solved by a common view as leaders in an organization of what we're solving for. Because the organizational design might not be ready for us yet, actually. And what are we going to do? Sit on our asses and wait for HR to figure out the difference between brand and marketing and digital? We can't. We have to lead and show how it can work.